everybody, it's Christy with AG Takes Over. I'm glad you're here. It's Q&A time. Yay! By the way, these bags, they're my signature look of the Apocalypse 2025. I wear them all the time now. And this is just me giving you permission to present yourself publicly however the crap you want to. Okay, so several of you gave some really good questions on Instagram a little bit, but much more on YouTube community posts. And I've got my laptop right here, so I will be looking over just to, know what the questions are and read a lot of my answers, just because my thoughts are kind of right now, and it's good to have notes sometimes. So the first one says, and I got asked this at least twice, maybe 3 times, if you were able to design the next girl of the year with no limitations, who would they be and why? And somebody else said, if you could create a girl of the year, explain their story, name, where they're from, and what their vibe would be. So as far as physical appearance, my answer hasn't changed since the last time I was asked this for a Q&A video. Addie mold, medium skin tone with freckles and brown eyes, black medium length, or like they would call it short, but like medium length, shoulder length hair and bangs. So basically, if you're familiar with my collection, Nora. And as far as story, I really haven't thought about it much. I don't know why. She could be like, here's what I came up with very quickly. She could be doing schooling online. And maybe that's because of medical needs, like she was having absenteeism because of some chronic health issues, or maybe it's because of bullying, or maybe it just wasn't a good fit for her to go to school, traditional school, safety concerns. I don't know. But I think that you could explore the pros and cons from this one character's perspective and make sure that it doesn't push only one narrative, because you could have her like connecting with some other homeschoolers who are homeschooling for different reasons. And maybe they, talk about why they stopped or why they started and what they like about it and what they don't and what some of the challenges are. Honestly, I'm not committed to the storyline. It was just something that I made up like on the fly, but I have thought about the dolls' looks before, and I would like to see that combination. Also, and I've said this before, no crazy, expensive, exclusive hobbies, because I am over that with these Girl of the Years. Like, I get that they're trying to appeal to bougie consumers, and they want to have, like, bougie hobbies, but even most of the people that I know who have American Girl dolls don't also afford, like, skiing and private instruction in this and private instruction in this and like competitions at this and competitions at this and state level and elite teams and all of the things that seem to be really common in the Girl of the Year themes. So yeah. By the way, I'm going to pause and like move this a little bit because I feel like I have to keep looking over quite a bit. So 1 second. That's better for me anyway. So the next question was, which doll's overall story or aesthetics are your absolute favorites and why? It can be historical, Girl of the Year, or an original character. Do you relate to them, or you just enjoy getting to experience their vibe? And I do not have an absolute favorite. Just for future reference, whenever I do one of these, I never have absolute favorites. It's too hard. I can answer which doll I find the most relatable. So for historical, unsurprisingly, given my age, it's Courtney. Like, we are not similar in all ways. I didn't have a blended family when I was her age, and my mom wasn't running for mayor, but I participated in Hands Across America. Courtney and I are practically the same age, so like the fashion, the music, the current events, and are all things that I remember clearly from my childhood. For Girl of the Year, it's Lindsay. Like, again, we're not similar in all ways. I'm not Jewish and plenty of other things like I didn't have in common with her. But she just stands out to me among all of the Girl of the Year dolls as like remarkably regular. And that is relatable to me. Like, remarkably unremarkable. I don't know. She doesn't have crazy expensive hobbies, and she doesn't have a pressure to be like an expert, all-star, elite, world-class anything. She's just like She's just Junie B. Jones in American Girl form. And there was a lot of Junie B. Jones in me as a child. So yeah, like she's, what is, my friend Kirsten calls her Chaos Gremlin. And I'm like, yes, yes, Junie B. Jones and Lindsay and me as a child. So yeah, relatable. Next question. I did loosely kind of organize these. What do you think of the 2026 Girl of the Year, Raquel, being a descendant of Samantha? I'm going to be honest, I don't think about it. Like, I just haven't really. This question was the first time I kind of sat down and thought about it. I feel like the last couple of Girls of the Year have been very lackluster for me. Like, really skimpy stories, and it's, that's not their fault, but they're getting these very thin, not meaty stories, skimpy collections. Like, poor Summer didn't really even get anything that I would qualify as a big ticket item, and they keep trying to pass off that pet spa as part of her collection, and it's clearly a truly me item. Like, they didn't even give her anything big, like a little tiny baking thing. Yeah, they've been really lackluster. And then, they also, I feel like they're doing this big new thing with the Girl of the Year, where they're going to tie the Girl of the Year line to a historical character. And that's the first time they've ever done that. But should we get our hopes up? They did a big new thing with Corinne by giving her not one, but 2 sibling dolls. And that fizzled out. And then they did a big new thing with Lila and giving her a connection to a prior Girl of the Year. And that was like so underdeveloped. I don't know. It felt like a little new thing when it could have felt like a really cool, big new thing. So I think this idea is cool of like tying Raquel to Samantha. But, and they're picking one of their best-selling historical dolls, and they're making her look strikingly similar to Maritza, who consumers really seem to like. It builds a cross-generational connection and a cross-line connection, which is new. But will they execute it well, and will they develop it fully? I am personally not holding my breath. Like, I've just been underwhelmed by the Girl of the Year line lately, and I've been underwhelmed by American Girl's execution of some pretty cool ideas. So I would love for them to prove me wrong, though. I'm not holding my breath, but it would be cool. I would love it if they really develop this and like it realizes its full potential. Next question was, I know one of your favorite things about American Girl are the little foods and accessory sets. What are some play sets that you wish they would make? And if done well, I would love to have some Indian food. Like, I know we got the Indian takeout in those little blind bags, but that was just one thing. I would love to have like samosas and naan or puris and gulab jamun and main dishes and like a whole Indian meal. A lot of what I want to see though, like what I would like to see, I just don't trust that they would do well. Like, I don't mean that to be snarky, but I would rather buy from other makers on Etsy or try to make it myself, because I can make like little individual pieces. I can do like when I've done green beans or trail mix or Chex Mix or whatever, like I can make individual things so that you can have servings and you can have some in their hands, or you can have them all in one bowl, or you can have them in little dishes. Like, I have that flexibility. And there are several Etsy shops that I feel like you get that, like the quality is better, plus you get more flexibility. And I just don't trust that they're going to do it. So I'd rather spend my money buying it from Etsy bakers or trying to do it myself, honestly. And the person who asked that does a fantastic job in her own shop, Small Batches by B. So I'm talking about you, Becky. Like, I would rather buy it from you because they're not going to do it justice. Then same person asked me, I know you've talked about collabs sometimes being controversial for different reasons, but I'm curious to know what collabs you would be excited to see. And I, again, didn't have an immediate answer. And then I was like, Scholastic. Yes. And I went from like not even having it really on the front burner of my brain to being like, please, like I want a whole bunch of American Girl sized books. Like, give us not just the, you know, the Meet Addie and Meet Whoever books, but like give us Scholastic books in AG size, and maybe even like shelving, or like a room, like the shell of a room with some shelves and a register or something. Like, let us have our own doll-sized Scholastic book fair. Please. Yes. Be so great. Because if you could buy, like, if they had kind of a base, like a store, if they had like a very neutral room that they would sell as a store, and then they've sold like different expansion packs. Like, you want to be able to turn your store into a bookshop, buy these expansion packs. They have all the book stuff. They have some posters that you can put in these little like poster frames, and they have bookshelves and different things. Like, here's a little library cat, whatever. Or you want to make this same store into a sweets shop, buy this expansion pack. I think they would make money hand over fist. I think parents would be excited about getting more play value out of one space. And like, we could pick and choose, and you wouldn't have to have so many big ticket items. Man, I'd be all over it. Why don't they do this? Okay, yeah, so Scholastic. Ask me how I really feel. Scholastic. Next question was, these are random sometimes. What is your dog like? Does your dog try to get into your doll stuff? What about Grace's cat? They said cat, but she has 2. Our dog is 10. She is not trained per se. I mean, she knows a few commands, but she mostly just has a good disposition. So people like her because she's like decently behaved by nature. She is not snuggly or at all sensitive to your emotional like state of being. You could like be sobbing and she would just lay. She would not come over to check on you. She is like whatever the opposite of an empath is. She's not a sociopath, but like, she's just not in tune with people's emotions. In contrast, my older daughter's service dog is like very in tune and will come over, check on you, like deep pressure, you know, so different. Also, she used to be like super unmotivated by food. And then my daughter's dog stayed with us for like a month or 2 when she was in between apartments. And she was very food motivated and like really interested in Olive's food. And then Olive, that was all she took, like 10 years of not giving a crap about food. And all of a sudden she was like, meals are important. My food is important. My food is apparently desirable. And I would like it at a certain time every day. And so now she's like, it's almost 6 o'clock every single day, which is hilarious because she never was that way. Grace's cats. She has 2 of them. Tonks loves me. The feeling is not mutual, but whatever. She used to poop in inappropriate places in the basement, and so she was quite literally on my shit list, and she has stopped doing that, thankfully. Bless. So now I feel like whatever about her. Like, I feel no kind of way about her. Lily, who previously I was pretty neutral about, has started eating our food if we leave it unguarded for like 2 seconds. So now she's the one that gets on my last nerve. But if I'm being honest, I'm not a real big fan of either cat. So yeah, they came with the relationship. I've said it before. I'm very open about that. Next question. What are your top 5 dolls from everyone's collection? And they meant mine, my wife's, combined, and if allowed, my daughter's. And I cannot do all those. I can't pick 5 from my collection. But my daughter's, it's easy because one of them has 2 American Girl 18-inch dolls and the other one has 3. She has more wellies. She has more bitty babies, but she only has 3 American Girl 18-inch dolls. So between the 2 of them, they have 5. So if I were picking top 5, I'd be like, all of theirs. But I did go through the dolls that are strictly owned by Grace. So not mine and not ours, but just hers. And I did pick 5. And I tried not to overthink this. I'll try to remember to put pictures. Teo, Addie, Yvette, Ty, and maybe Quinn. I'm not sure, because Quinn and Karma are basically the same. It's like 80, 85 or 86 and 106. So they're very similar. It's just like she's version 2.0 of this one. So one of those. Next question was, thoughts on Joann's closing? As your beaded bracelets video mentioned, their jewelry making designs. I'm wondering if you found an alternative. I'm so sad that Joann's closed. I really am. I think that it really sucks. I did read that Michael's bought a lot of the intellectual property and a lot of the like items from Joann's. So they are even I did read, just in thinking about this question, I did a little homework, and they did say that they're going to be expanding their fabric selection to fill the void left by Joann Fabrics closing. So that's good. They do have a decent bead selection, but I'm hoping that their jewelry selection will also expand. I know Shamazon probably has plenty of options, but we have reduced our Amazon shopping by like 90% easily this year. Feeling great about that, like ethically and my pocketbook. So when I learned that Joann's was closing, I did not go browse Amazon because I'm not interested. I'm not going to buy it anyway. And I don't shop at Hobby Lobby. So yeah, really hoping that Michael's will come through. Because otherwise, I don't know. There aren't a lot of options. Next question. Do you ever want to dress your dolls and walk into your doll space and just freeze up? Like, too many choices, not enough choices, not the right choices for what you want to do, not sure what to put on a particular doll that reflects their personality, not sure which doll should or would wear the outfit that you've just put together. Roadblocks like that. Like, how do you overcome it? And as I was reading this, I was like, no, that doesn't feel familiar. Then it made me feel sad because I know that there are so many collectors that is the case, right? I'm a pretty neuro-bland person, and I don't really get overwhelmed by those decisions. I guess my approach is just a little bit different. And I was like, but I know a lot of people do struggle with that, and I feel bad for them. Like, a lot of people, collectors in my life, do struggle with those things. So I was like, hey, including my wife, let me ask her. And so I asked her how she handles that. And so like for me, I will often sit down and be like, I want to dress some dolls in like summery outfits or wintry outfits or PJs or I don't know, springy things or pride things or whatever. And then I'll pull out bins and I'll just start looking through what's available to me. And I don't agonize over it. And I put something together. And I'm like, cute. I like that. And she, on the other hand, walks into a room and she already has a vision for what outfit like she's put together in her mind. And so, like, if there's an element of that outfit in her mind that would be hard to find or hard to access, or like she's upstairs and then she's going to have to go back down to the basement, find out which doll is wearing the black sandals and then take them off and go back up, or undress this doll and then go back up. She's like, I don't know, if I feel really strongly about the outfit, then I will just go do the extra work and I'll get all the pieces I need. But if I don't feel motivated enough, I'll just abandon the plan. Like, there is not as much adapting on her end as there is on mine. She gets very fixated, like, but I wanted this. And I would just grab different sandals and move on with it. And it's not a criticism. It's just that, you know, it's tough. I don't really have, like, great suggestions for this. I don't, you know, I mean, due to the difference in our approaches, I definitely dress a lot more dolls than she does because she hits those roadblocks more often. It doesn't mean that, like, she doesn't enjoy dolls or she's like a less valid collector. She just doesn't do as many photo shoots or do as many outfit changes because those roadblocks that you mentioned. Yeah, so I don't have great advice. I'm really hoping that folks will chime in the comments and give their tips, because that could probably help out a lot of people if y'all will share tips, okay? Please and thank you. All right, next question. I didn't number them, so next question. How do you maintain interest in your dolls, and do you feel your love for them wane? I'll be honest, I'm in my 5th year of being a doll collector, and my interest hasn't waned yet. I did make a video though, like, so my interest hasn't waned. Again, I just said, like, I'm pretty neurobland, so like my sister-in-law, it's like, my ADHD does not allow me to like maintain a hobby because I'm like all in and buy all the things and do it for a couple months and then I'm off on the next thing. And I know a lot of you can relate to that either directly or because of people in your lives. So, and I can relate because of people in my lives, but it's not a direct experience I have. So I don't personally experience that, but also people, not just because of ADHD, but like depression, anything, just life, kids, like having too much other crap going on, new job, you moved, whatever. I did make a video and I will link it in the description with 57 ideas of ways that you can engage with your dolls. And a lot of people who watched that said they found it very familiar and they bookmarked it or they, come back to it and watch it. I tried to make sure that I picked ideas that match different people's resources, right? Your time, your energy, your skill, your creativity. So you may not be able to do all of them, but you should have plenty to choose from. And you can always add and look in the comments to see if other people have added some good ideas. So, next one says, for celebrations like Juneteenth or even just everyday dressing, hairstyles, scenes, etc., how do you make sure you're presenting your dolls of different races or ethnicities or backgrounds in a culturally appropriate way? Hold on one second. I'm going to move again, and then I'll answer that. All right. That is a great question, first of all. So I put celebrations like Lunar New Year, Juneteenth, Pride, Diwali, Eid, Hanukkah, etc., Dia de los Muertos. All of those are celebrations that some people have direct experience with, right? But others do not. And as doll collectors, a lot of us want our dolls to observe holidays or celebrations that we don't have direct experience with, right? We didn't grow up knowledgeable about these things. Or we want to create backstories for our dolls that don't mirror our own religious or cultural, etc. backgrounds. And hopefully we all want to do it in a way that isn't offensive or like off the mark. So I think that there are a lot of ways to go about that. Search for YouTube videos of people who do celebrate those occasions and see what the occasions actually look like, right? If people are like, I am here celebrating this, and they're open to talking about it and they've made that content, great, because you're not asking them to do any emotional labor. This is something they've already chosen to share with the public. You can see what those celebrations look like, what they involve. You can follow the accounts of people who represent the cultures that you're trying to portray through your dolls, or search hashtags for the specific event, like Dia de los Muertos. If it's feasible and appropriate, you can see things firsthand. For example, I lived in Mexico for several years and I saw firsthand all the like roadside marigold vendors, and I saw all the sugar skulls in the like market near my house. But my ex's family didn't, I didn't see any altars because my ex's family didn't observe the holiday, and it would have been intrusive to like ask my acquaintances to let me in and see the, like let me in on their celebrations. So some of that I got direct experience with and some of it I didn't. Another really easy option, and I probably say this like teacher in me, book lover in me, and parent in me, is hit up your local library and head to the children's section, and then look for books on the celebration that are written by people and illustrated by people with the culture that celebrates that, right? So having said all that, because then, those are authentic sources where you're not asking people to do free emotional labor for you or free education because they have already chosen to. And, in the case of booksellers or any like social media account that's monetized, they are being compensated for that. Now, I recently did a Juneteenth photo shoot and I didn't follow my own advice. I used a lot more of the like African print clothes in that photo shoot. Even though that didn't feel realistic based on the children's books that I've seen and the few Juneteenth celebrations that I've attended. And I knowingly did this because, one, I wanted to have a really cohesive look for the photo shoot. And two, I wanted to use some of the clothing items that I just don't use as often. And I think that in doll photography, sometimes there is that contradiction where we want things to be realistic, but we also want a very cohesive photo shoot, right? You know, those photo shoots where families get their pictures and they all look like they're just like happen to be at this event, but everybody's wearing like denim and khakis and white. Like they didn't all just magically show up that way. They're doing things naturally together maybe, but they also like got the memo that they were supposed to all look the same for pictures. So I think sometimes as doll collectors, we have these contradicting goals, and that's okay. I think maybe just being mindful of those two goals, like a cohesive photo shoot and also being authentic and not offensive, will help us kind of navigate that and make better, make good decisions. Anyway, thank you for the food for thought. That was a really good question. The next one is shorter. What were your favorite dolls when you were starting collecting versus now? So my early favorites, like Melody, Gabriella, and my Truly Me 55 Sydney, they're still all among my favorites. All three of them. I haven't started liking them any less, but I've definitely added a lot more favorites. Like, I will say that there are two face molds that I like more now than I did when I first started collecting, and that would be the Marie Grace mold, which is still not my favorite, but I do love Prim and Elowen, and the Addie mold, which is now among one of my favorite molds. So, there. And then I hear movement upstairs, so I have to go to dinner soon, but I'm going to answer one more. Do I have different preferences in face molds, particular features such as hair, eyes, hair color? Or this is like, did I have different preferences then versus now? I don't think it's changed a ton. Like, I immediately liked the Sonali mold, and as the Sonali mold has changed, I've learned that I have to amend that and say I really like the older Sonali mold. Same with the Jess mold. I really like the older one, but before I didn't necessarily have to say the older one, and now I do because it keeps changing so drastically. And it will never be a favorite mold, but I think I like more classic molds now than I did before. Also, Claudia's mold didn't exist when I first started collecting, and I freaking love it. Corinne's and McKenna's molds also didn't exist, but I don't have as strong of feelings about them. In terms of hair, eyes, etc., I don't think my preferences have changed that much. But, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, 5 years, I haven't been collecting all that long. So keep asking this question, and maybe my answer will evolve over time. All right, I'm going to go enjoy dinner with my family, and then I'll come back in just a second for you. All right, post delicious dinner and a little bit of a struggle getting my kid to sleep, we're ready to keep going. All right, next one was, how long have you been collecting American Girl dolls? I've already answered this, but 5 years. What's the biggest thing that you regret buying? If I have to pick something, maybe Lila's Stable or the Our Generation Ambulance. Both of those things were like spur of the moment kind of whim purchases in 2024. And I don't use them a lot, and they weren't things that I'd just been really wanting or anything. Like I said, they were just kind of impulse buys, but I don't really regret buying them because I didn't pay full price. They were super affordable. We're getting some use out of them, and then when we're done with them, somebody else can get use out of them. Like, it's not like I dropped like way above retail on something because of FOMO. Like, I don't really have any regrets about it. This says, do you have any regrets? The next question is very similar. Do you have any regrets in your collection purchases, and why? And I said, there were things that maybe weren't the smartest purchases, but I stayed within my budget. I'll use them and then I'll pass them on. Like, it's not a big deal. And then I said, I did have one that I had high hopes for, and we barely have gotten any use for. I didn't pay full price for it, but I bought something because all kinds of parents were like, we get so much use out of this thing. It's amazing. My whole family plays with it, blah, blah, blah. Even my husband, my sons. It was the bowling alley. And we haven't really used it. Like, I don't know if I need to take it out again. We're actually going bowling soon, probably. So maybe my daughter will be more interested in it. But I found it a little bit like, eh. And we just haven't used it very much. So it just stays sitting under something over there. And it's not even really like a good photo op. Like our generation one is a little bit better because it's got like a wall thing with some decorations and stuff on it. Like for photo ops, I'd rather have that one. I was like buying this for play value, and it's fine. Like I said, maybe we'll get it out again and it'll be a different story. Next question was, how do you make doll friends in real life and virtually when everyone seems busy? Fair question. I am personally not a person who minds putting themselves out there. Like, I'm not the world's biggest extrovert, but I'm not like, I don't have social anxiety. So this channel helped a lot. Like, when people watch and comment that they're from the same area, that's an open door. Or like when people watch and comment and then maybe we end up chatting elsewhere, then even though we're not like in real life friends, maybe that's a person that I knew, like I would know if you came to town, I would be happy to meet up with you. Or if I were in your area, maybe we could have dinner or something like that. Even though we're not in the same area, it could be like an in-person connection. So if I didn't have my local store also helped because I met people there. But if I hadn't had the local store and I didn't have this channel, which is a lot of people's situations, right? I think that I would look for active Facebook groups for American Girl collectors in my state. And if I couldn't obviously find that, join those. If I couldn't find that, then I would join the active national ones and ask, is anyone from such and such area in a post? Or even like, if you're interested in meeting other collectors in real life, please drop your location in the comments in a post in a group and see what you find. And for those of you who are international, I like, I know that's even tougher. People are like, they're like one other collector in my country, I swear. You can still join Facebook groups. There are some that I'm in that aren't like people from, there's somebody in there from Malta. And I've sent her packages because she's bought stuff from me. So you can join a group that doesn't have any kind of geographical ties, and maybe you'll end up being pen pals with somebody. Maybe you could say like, I live where there are no collectors and I'm not going to be able to make in real life friends through this page or through this group, but I would love to have a pen pal, or I would love to like do some little gift exchanges with somebody. I would say Facebook groups. I don't do well with group chats. I have like a couple limited ones in my life, but in general, I don't do well with them. And I think they ebb and flow, and stamina comes and goes. And sometimes people get disappointed when there's a lot of energy in one and then it dips. So I probably wouldn't like do at least group chats on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, but you do you. Find out what, decide what you think would be most useful for you. For me, it's mostly been this channel. The next one says, now that the CYO generator is down, if it were to come back, what combination would you do immediately? And I love that by the time I recorded this, the CYO generator was already back. And I'm a little bit less excited about the price. But yeah, I did order one the very next day because I had been thinking about it, and I was like, this is going to be one of those cases where I do have like non-buyer's remorse. Like I wish I would have. And I just was kind of undecided what I would like to do next in terms of CYOs. And then I missed the boat. And then when it came back, I was like, I have the money in my budget. Thank you all for watching. That helped put some money in my budget, so I was able to get a doll. And at this point, it should be coming in soon-ish. So I'm just going to leave you in suspense about what the combination is, because obviously I will do an unboxing when the doll gets here. I will say this. I chose a face mold that we don't have represented in our CYOs yet. So it's not Sonali, it's not Addie, and it's not Josefina mold. Other than that, you'll have to tune back in. Next question is, are you planning on getting any other historical dolls? If so, which one? Well, once again, between the time that this question was asked and the time I started filming it, I actually did buy a historical doll. And I said I'm only going to buy 2 dolls this year. So I bought a CYO and I bought a historical. I waited 6 months until June, and then I went boom, boom, because I bought the historical, not realizing the CYO thing was going to come back, and then it came back, and I wanted to just go ahead and get one. So yeah, I also have a video filmed for her, so it'll be coming up soon. But for now, I'm going to leave you in suspense. I did get a historical recently. You're welcome to guess in the comments. Next one is, do you have a favorite American Girl doll? If so, do you have multiple favorites or just one? This question, no, like, I don't mean to be making fun, but it did make me chuckle because I was like, I can't have multiple favorites. If I have a favorite, that is a superlative. And no, I don't have a favorite. No, I could not pick a favorite between my children, and I'm not comparing dolls to my children. I'm just saying, you know, there are certain things where you're like, I'm not going to pick a favorite. I don't know. My daughter does have a favorite between her 2 cats. Sorry, Lily. But I don't have a favorite. I have ones that I like more and ones that I am less attached to. I don't have a favorite. No. All right. How many American Girl dolls do you have? Between mine and Grace's, 114. Not counting the 2, or not counting the CYO. The breakdown is 19 are mine only. Out of 114, only 19 are mine only. 50 are just Grace's, and then 45 are ours. So there's the breakdown. Next question was, what is your favorite historical and girl of the year? Okay, I don't do well with superlatives. You're always welcome to ask me, but I'm probably always going to disappoint because I just can't do this. But I at least wanted to try to answer it. So what I did was I broke it down by subcategories. So looks, stories, and collections. So historical for looks is probably Claudie for me. Historical for stories is a toss-up. Honestly, it's like a multi-way toss-up. I did not want to overthink it. So I was like, I'm just going to let my more recent reads influence me and say Marie Grace and Cecile's books, because they're the only historical characters books that have like 6 books, but they alternate back and forth. I know that there are historical dolls with best friends, and there's like one Nellie book, and there's one Ivy book, and there's one Emily book, but this was back and forth, the 2. They were much more like on par with each other. It wasn't this one and her best friend, you know, and the friend. So I really liked that approach. I'm just going to pick that one, but there's so many historical books that I like. And then collection for historical, I'm going to go with Mary Ellen. Like her couch, her camp set, like campfire set, her Airstream, her 2 diners, her fridge, her stove now, her TV, her little TV dinner stands, and all of that. Like, she just has a lot. And I don't know. I think that era's aesthetic is fun, and if you don't like it, you don't like it. And if you're like, it needs to be much later to be, like, much earlier to be historical, that's valid. That's fine. I would probably go with her collection. And, like, her clothes, all of her clothes are, I don't think she has a bad outfit. I may not love every one of them, but I don't think she has a bad outfit. Oh yeah, the bakery case. I said the diners, but the bakery case. And then, yeah, girl of the year now. Whoops, sorry. For looks, it is a solid tie between Leah and Gabriella, and you can't make me pick just one. Yeah, I narrowed it down to 2. You're welcome. For stories, I have an easier time than I did with historical, just because I have read fewer of the girl of the year stories. In fact, if you have favorite girl of the year books, please let me know in the comments. And if you want to share a little bit about why, I'm open to expanding the girl of the year books that I've read. Probably it would be a tie for stories between Lindsay and Gabriella. Lindsay, like I said, she's just a very relatable character, and she's like quirky and very Junie B. Jones-esque, and I love that about her. But she only got one book. And then Gabriella's, I didn't relate to as much on a personal level. I just liked her character, and I liked the friendships that she had, and she had multiple books. So yeah, probably those two. And then for Girl of the Year collections, I have to go with Grace Thomas. Like the bakery, hello, the bakery cart, the bistro, like her collection is so cohesive. The color palette is like throughout the entire thing. And I would say Joss would probably be runner up just because of the van bus, whatever you want to call it, the bug. Yeah. The rest of her collection, whatever, but I think that's a pretty outstanding item. So she would be second place, but it's not a tie. It is Grace. All right. That's the best I can do answering that one. And the next one says, I know you got into American Girl dolls when Grace opened up her childhood dolls and wanted to start collecting. You got on board and then never looked back. This is true. So if you're watching for the first time, now you have a synopsis. Thank you. I was wondering what toys, games, or hobbies you were interested in yourself as a child. Why, thank you. I think this was Cheryl. I can't remember. Thank you for asking that. Okay, I do like this question. I very clearly remember Pound Puppies, and I see them now at stores, and I'm like, oh, I wish I could. It was a TV show, it was a game, and it was stuffed toys. I remember Pound Puppies. I had a Cabbage Patch doll. My brothers might have gotten one each also. I feel like there were a couple in our household, but I remember getting one. My mom even sewed me an outfit, like a burgundy velveteen dress with some lace across the front right here, and she made a matching dress for my Cabbage Patch, and we got pictures, and I don't know if I have the pictures, but I remember it. I liked Strawberry Shortcake. I had a bookcase that was Strawberry Shortcake, and I can picture it. I saw it once on Facebook Marketplace, and I was tempted, and then I was like, why? But it was cool. I was like, that's the bookcase I had as a kid. My Little Pony, I wasn't like super into them, but I had My Little Ponies. I thought the Garbage Pail Kids cards were funny. Like they were delightfully disgusting. And it probably in my like fart humor era of childhood, I fully appreciated those. Barbies were present in my childhood, but not a big deal at all. I loved my Light Bright. I don't even know that it was mine. My best friend Jenny had the like full size Light Bright, and we just used it a lot. I played with Simon Says and Speak and Spell and Etch a Sketch. I had a Teddy Ruxpin I got for Christmas, and I thought that thing was so cool. It had like you could put cassette tapes in it, and it had stories, and it would talk to you. I think its eyes even moved. I don't know. I had a Woodsies set. If any of you are of my age and remember that. I remember having some toys from some animals from the Sylvanian Families line. Yeah. I don't know if I'm putting pictures in. Maybe I put pictures in. If not, go down the rabbit hole of vintage historical toys. I didn't collect any toys though. I wasn't like, I gotta have all of these. I have to complete the set. I've never been a completionist at all. Like, I think my wife came out of the womb with that kind of mindset, and I just don't have that gene at all. I had a younger brother and an older brother close in age, and then a lot of neighborhood kids similar in age. Plus, I lived right across the street from my elementary school, so there was the playground right there. And I just feel like there was a lot more outside play than play with toys. And it's not better or worse or anything. That's just, I think that I did a lot more like running around and climbing trees and playing tag and things like that than I did as much in the house, probably because my mom had 3 kids and was mostly raising us while my dad was at work, and she was probably going insane and told us like, come back at dinner time, get the hell out of the house. Yeah. We had a public pool and parks and a library that were all 3 walkable once I got a little bit older. I probably liked playing dress up more than I liked playing with any one particular kind of toy. So, yeah. Thanks. That was fun to revisit my childhood toys and hobbies and activities. All right, next one. Somebody said, I just watched your video from last year where you and Grace picked your top 20 dolls. Has your top 20 changed since then, considering any dolls you've acquired recently? Oh, that's so hard. I feel like Latia, my 11, and Kenzie, the like extreme customization that I did on a Felicity doll, should probably be added because I like them both so much, but also like who would I bump from that 20? The mental exercise of narrowing down my top 20 was excruciating the first time around, and I don't know if I'm up for it. But you know what I could manage? I could tier rank them. So maybe I'll do that soon. Let me know if you think I should tier rank like all of them in one video, because it's going to be over $115 by that time, or if I should break them up by like line or some other way. I'm open to suggestion, but that I can manage. I don't know if I'm ready for the top 20 again. It was tough. Next person says, any advice on organizing dolls with a smaller room? So I think this absolutely depends on the specifics, like how small is small to you. Do you have a lot of wall space, or do you have like a bunch of windows and doors so you don't have as much wall space? Is your collection primarily dolls, or does it also contain a dollhouse or other big ticket items? Are there going to be pets that are able to access the room? Does the room need to serve some other purpose? Like, is it also a guest room? Is it also an office? Is it also a play space for your child or whatever? I've actually created a couple of videos on how to, like, questions to ask yourself to figure out what would be your best approach to doll space organization. I've done like 3 videos on doll room organization, but the one in particular that's like questions you can ask yourself to figure out your best approach, I am very proud of that one. So I am going to put that in the description. I prefer that over telling you what I think you should do, especially when I don't know the specifics of this person's situation. All right, next one says, what are your thoughts on the Pleasant Company dolls? And I confess I laughed at this one because I was like, that's a very open question. What are my thoughts on them? They are older. I don't know. It felt a little random, and I'm just answering randomly. I think the prettiest Samantha dolls are PC ones. Not that all PC Samanthas are pretty. I just think that the prettiest ones happen to also be Pleasant Company ones. I think that I personally have nothing against PC dolls. I think, though, that I'm a little bit less enamored of the dolls and more enamored by the depth and the breadth and the quality of their collections and the emphasis on their stories, the quality of the outfits and accessories during that period. I don't generally love pie bangs, but I do love the dolls not having painted lashes, so I liked that better. As far as the PC ones having generally less lip color than the newer ones, I don't have a strong preference on that. Like, I don't mind if they have a little bit more lip color. I don't mind if they don't. I don't like when the PC ones that barely had any lip color to begin with now are super faded and they look like me on my most ill day. Next question says, I've got 1, 2, just 3, 4, 5. Okay, I still have a few. There was a page break there. I was like, I'm almost done. How many hours per week on average do you dedicate to making videos? That's really hard for me to answer because sometimes I just like work on something with split attention in the evening while we're watching a movie. Like, I'm listening to a movie and maybe writing some notes for like working on these questions or something, or I'm like organizing pictures for a video. So I don't keep track. My wife and I took a guess and she was like, I would say at least 5 hours. And I was like, I'm probably closer to 10. And she was like, yeah, I would say it ranges 5 to 10, but probably closer to 10. Which, like, return on my money or like investment of what I make from the channel, no, I should just work an extra hour and be better off. But I am happy to spend that much time on a hobby and something that is a healthy, creative outlet. Like this is very much by choice. I feel no obligation to like do videos for you all. I don't feel any obligation. I do it because I genuinely enjoy it. Like still 2.5 years in or whatever. Like I post frequently because I enjoy doing it. The next person says, in honor of Juneteenth and your Q&A, what is your thought on the "it takes a village to raise a child," and do you support this idea? I wasn't entirely sure how that was related to, but I'll answer the question anyway. I don't think a village is required because people every day are managing to raise their children well without a village. But I do think it's ideal to not be raising your children in isolation and without adequate support. I think at a community services level, the village looks like adequate and affordable childcare options, including after-school care, free and reduced breakfast and lunch in efficient, in like quality public schools, access to health care, interpreting services provided as needed, affordable, efficient public transportation, parks, museums, zoos, etc., getting financial support from those who can afford it so that they're able to be affordable to those who can't otherwise afford it. Adequate support options for children with disabilities or behavioral health struggles, etc., 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 right? At an individual level, like a more zoomed in level, I think that the village looks like having neighbors who know your phone number and would text you or reach out to you if they saw something concerning. A family member or a friend who would come over and drop off a meal or take your kid to the park so that you can sleep, clean, run errands, do something fun just for yourself to maintain your sanity, right? Like having people who will pinch hit for you. People in your life who you can confidently put down as an emergency contact, people who, just show up. Like, that they would show up in an emergency. They show up because they care about your kids. They care about you. They check in, things like that. I try to recognize and appreciate all the ways that I do have a village, right? I also recognize that my village is lacking in many ways, and that makes parenting harder. I try to be a part of other people's villages in the ways that I can, like providing a ride or babysitting. Like, we have some friends that they will randomly invite our daughter to go do something, or I'll randomly say, hey, are you guys up for a play date? I don't have enough people like that maybe, but I do have that, and I try to be that for other people. Like sharing free resources with other parents or just being an empathetic listener. Yeah. I think we don't have enough of a village often. And this is an aside, but I think sometimes people's village comes in the form of being part of a more organized thing, like a church or something, which I personally feel is good and bad, because sometimes people may not agree with their village, but if they would speak up or dissent or whatever, they would risk losing that village. So I have seen that happen personally. So especially where it comes to religion, I've seen people like maybe stay in a bad relationship because their church would not approve, or stay involved in a church that's doing some pretty messed up stuff, and they recognize it's messed up, but they wouldn't want to lose that sense of community. So next one is, when did you know that you wanted to become an American Sign Language interpreter? So I don't know if I've told this story or not, but back when I was in 5th grade, I was in something called Gifted and Talented Enrichment, GATE, GATE. And it was like if you were good at language arts, like I got picked to be in this program. And the teacher was going around and asking everybody what we would think we would like to do when we grew up. And I was in 5th grade, and I didn't have deaf family members. I didn't have deaf neighbors, deaf classmates, anything. And I was like, I want to work with deaf people. I don't know. I didn't even know what that meant. Like, as I went to high school, I still was like, I kind of forgot about that. Then I was like, I think maybe I heard a sign language class nearby, and I was like, I always wanted to do that. I always wanted to work with deaf people. That's what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I didn't know what that meant. Somebody was like, I think occupational therapy, like if people lose their hearing in an accident, you help them. And I was like, okay, that's what I'll major in. And then somebody was like, no, I think like communications is, and I'm like, okay, that's what I'll major in. And then finally somebody was like, I think what you're looking for is sign language interpreter. And I was like, yes, that sounds like it. And so that's what I did. The next question was, in honor of Pride Month and for this Q&A video, what is your advice for finding one's tribe is the term used, finding one's people, or safe people? What's your advice for people who are still quote unquote in the closet? I think this is tough. Again, like so many answers, it depends. I think it depends on your age. It depends on where you live. Like if you're young, but you live near a larger city, there might be a youth center for you. So I know that in Columbus, Ohio, we have Kaleidoscope Youth Center. And when I lived in Houston, we had Hatch, which was the Houston Area Teen Coalition of Homosexuals, which like the term is a little bit outdated, but Hatch. And I did check, they still exist. I looked online right before answering this. Centers like that are amazing. They'll have like pizza nights or, movie nights, and it's just a place where you can meet up and hang out with people in a fun and safe environment. Like, not to be all curmudgeon-y, but going out to clubs and partying is not always the safest environment or the healthiest environment for people. And even if that is something they want, there is still a place for a youth center. So, playing board games with other queer teens is probably like a really nice thing to have access to. Or maybe like your high school, if you're in high school, maybe there's a Gay Straight Alliance or some whatever similar organization. Most colleges have that for folks who are like slightly older but still young. If they're on a college campus, I'm sure there is at least one queer group, unless you go to a small private religious college or something. Pride events, especially smaller ones, personally, I think can be less overwhelming and maybe have more of an opportunity to actually meet folks. Your library might have events. We have a local bookstore that has like a LGBTQIA book club. And so you could read the book that they're recommending and then show up to the book club and meet some people. Sometimes libraries will have a similar thing. I literally I searched things for gay folks to do in Columbus. And Columbus, like, granted, has the second largest pride in the Midwest. I think there were like 800,000 or something crazy people at Pride. So it's large. The town's not that large. It's very queer friendly. But yeah, I put things for gay folks to do in Columbus as a starting point, and they were like a queer board gamers group, several sports teams, drag bingo, a runners group, a queer open mic night, a choir, a band, a mahjong group, and more. Like, there was a lot. So, like, look online. Hopefully these are enough suggestions. I think for those who are still in the closet, because that was part of the question, your safety is key. Like, your safety is paramount. If you could be harmed by coming out, if you could be kicked out of your home and you don't have somewhere else to be by coming out, like, you need to have a plan and follow your own timeline, right? Like, if you're like, yes, I do risk all those things, but I might not be here otherwise. Like, if this is so damaging to your mental health that it's worth risking those things to get out, like, only you can make that call. but I would say your safety is paramount. Also remember that coming out doesn't mean coming out to everyone everywhere all at once, right? Some people are out at work, but not at home because home is less safe. And some people are exactly the opposite. They're like, I'm totally accepted and embraced at home, but my work, I would get fired, right? So, you do whatever you want in terms of timeline. There's no timeline. I don't care how old you are. Like, just take things at your pace and be safe. Reading books, I think, can be helpful. I think that seeing yourself reflected in stories, reading about other people's coming out experiences, reading about possibilities of what your future could look like, all of those things, I think that can help people navigate the like when and where and how of their own coming out. So yeah, thanks for asking. I hope that's helpful. The next person said, I would love if you could share your coming out story with us or how you met your wife. And this was a different person. Yeah, happy to. And if you've already heard it, and because I did a Pride themed Q&A video in 2024, I think. So if you've already heard this, I don't really have a coming out story per se. Coming out doesn't mean everywhere, to everyone all at once. I will say I did not feel unsafe. My mom had not come out to our family, but she and my dad had split up and she was spending all of her time with her good friend Leanne. So I was like, I had my suspicions and so I didn't feel like unsafe in coming out even before that, but I definitely, when I was in high school, was like, that's like, I can see what is going on here. So, I think that the way that I mentioned it to her was like that I would date. Like I hadn't at that point, and I was like, I would date a girl. And it didn't get any like big bad reaction or anything. And I was like, cool, then that's fine. So when that happens, like I will just introduce the person. Like when that happens, I'll just introduce the person because I've already put it out there that like I would. And that didn't, the world kept on spinning. A general approach is if you feel that it's appropriate to like grab like a hetero person, right? Or anybody, like if you feel it's appropriate to hold hands in public with your partner or tell me about your upcoming vacation plans with your partner, any of those things, like, okay, then that's the level of detail you're going to get from me. Like, I'm not going to share less than that. You have normalized that whether we're at work or we're in the grocery store or whatever, like that's a level that you think is appropriate to share with me. Then if I feel like it, then I will share the exact same level of information. I'm not going to filter that because I'm sharing it about a woman. Also, neither Grace nor I identify as lesbian. So, people often assume that we both do or that we are because, if you are queer and you're in a relationship with somebody who's not, like if you're female and you're in a relationship with a man, then people look at you and assume straight, right? Bi, erasure, all that stuff. Well, if you're a female and you're married to a female, a lot of people just assume that you're a lesbian. And I'm like, nope. These inaccurate assumptions get made all the time, regardless of who I'm with. So, I feel like that has been more my issue is like whoever I have been with, like long-term partners, that determines the way that everybody else sees me. And so there's some kind of erasure or feeling of like, why is everybody assuming? Like, why are they making these broad generalizations? And I try to, like, if I know a guy has a boyfriend, I don't say he's gay. I will say queer because I feel like that is more encompassing. Or I'll say, well, I know he likes at least one dude. And that's about all I can assume. So, yeah, I don't have really any major coming out stories. I have had nervousness about being out in many cases, in many places in my life. But I don't think that I have felt like physically in danger, or that the most I've feared is like maybe I could lose my job. I don't feel that way at my current job at all. But I have felt that way in the past. So, but I still was just like, if you come in the break room at this elementary school and you tell me that you just had a date with some guy that you met, then that is fair game for me to say, oh yeah, my girlfriend and I just went to that restaurant too. It was really good. What did you have there? And if you don't like that, then you shouldn't have shared that much information with me. Don't flaunt your lifestyle and not expect me to do the same. All right. The next one says, oh, sorry. How did I meet my wife? We're both sign language interpreters, and I'll make this quick because some of you have heard it probably twice now. When we met, I don't remember meeting her, but I was new to town. I had just gotten a job at a college as as needed sign language interpreter. And somebody who was a staff interpreter at that college was hosting a hey, this semester's getting ready to start. We're having a barbecue. All the interpreters and the interpreting staff come over. And so they all knew each other, but I didn't know any of them. So she remembers meeting me because I was the new face, but she was one of all new faces. So I just don't remember. And then I was interpreting in said college and she was teaching there. Not like immediately after, but at some point. And so I was like interpreting in a classroom that had the door open, and she was walking by because she worked in the same department. And she said she looked in and she was like, damn. And I did not even see her at that point because I was in the room interpreting. She just happened to look in. And then we both team interpreted an assignment at a different university. And it was the kind of thing where like you're needed at the beginning and then they don't need you and you're just on standby for a couple of hours and like maybe needed for a couple minutes here and there. And so we were just like sitting in a room off to the side waiting on call and just chatted the whole time. And we talked about like nerdy hobbies and our parents and feminism and I don't know what else. We just chatted, and I liked her. I didn't think more of it at the time, but I clicked with her, and then we became Facebook friends. And I was going to interpret a national interpreting conference down in New Orleans, and she and some other Columbus interpreters were driving down together. And she was like, I'm at the conference. And I was like, oh, hey, we should hang out. And so we did. And we would hang out like with whoever she happened to be with. But then we would just end up hanging out. And like, I remember once, like, people were in my hotel room and then like everybody else left and like she stayed and we just hung out. And but we were like clearly like at that point, like, all right, so this is not just friends. There is some chemistry here. And we had our first date at Café du Monde in New Orleans, and we had beignets and coffee. And I remember like walking with her and being like, I like this. I don't know what this is, but I like it. And like that conversation. And she was dating like more than one person at that time. So she had to go back and break a couple hearts and tell some people that like she was going to just date me. Okay, next one is, oh no, the next question is, who's your favorite spouse? One guess who wrote that. So yes, Grace, if you're watching, you're my favorite spouse. I love you. Next one is, what is your favorite era of AG? Oh yeah, and there's one other question. I'm going to sneak it in first because I want to end on this one. Somebody was like, I cannot believe that your daughter still hasn't snuck down in your basement and found this room. Believe it, friend. She hasn't. She knows that we store doll stuff down here in the basement. She knows that if there's a tornado or a tornado, warning is whatever, tornado possibility is imminent, then we'll come down here. But other than that, we just tell her this is where the cat boxes are and it's stinky and she doesn't need to come down here. And she's good with that. And if she does come down, this is locked with like a key code. See back there? Key code. So even if she comes down, she's not going to get in here until I'm ready for her to get in here. And honestly, this girl has so many toys. Like, it's just so much of her own doll stuff. I don't know that she would freak out like everybody's imagining she would. Because she has her Welly Wisher house and she has her dollhouse that's like a American Girl size. I mean, it's just like 3 rooms, but it's a big dollhouse. And she has her little Bluey dollhouse, and she's her Gabby little dollhouse, and she has her Barbie dream house. Like, she's got enough crap of her own. I don't think she would freak out. I think that she would respect that this is Mama's space, and she would occasionally want to come down here and play with me. I don't think she would expect to bring her friends down here. So keep watching the channel. Eventually we're all going to find out, but not yet. Not yet. It's always clean, and I just want to keep it that way for a while. It's like my space that I just come down here and I'm like, and I want to enjoy that for as long as I can. All right. Literally, this one's going to take like a minute too, because I just got to stick it in here. I realized there was one question I didn't answer as I was editing this video, and it was, is it hard to have a hobby with a small child? Yes. Yes. I was trying to remember that, but I was so frazzled by the child taking so long to get to bed and having to go back in the room many times as I was like waiting to get started on working on a video that I forgot to answer that question. So yeah, there's exhibit 916. Yes, it's okay. It's totally worth it. Like, I like my hobby, and also I like my kid even more, so that's great. I have to pick, am I going to get up earlier than everybody, or am I going to stay up later than everybody, or like what has to give? But when it comes to filming, it really just comes down to like, I have to decide a time and do it. When it comes to enjoying the hobby, like, it's not hard with her. Like, she's come along to meetups. We've always taken her to the store when we had one, and she will go up and I will just let her pick clothes. As long as we've always taught her, like, your dolls are yours to do with whatever you want. I mean, not markers or scissors, but, you know, to play with how you want. Our dolls, you need to have us with you, and you need to have permission. And she seems to have, she's always been raised with that rule, so she gets it. And yeah, she's able to play. She does want me to, like, play, and that's not really the way that I enjoy the dolls. So even though we both love dolls, we love them in very different ways. And I just am very upfront with her about that. But yeah, little kids make everything harder, except for, you know, if your goal is to have a constant mess in your house, they are a huge help. All right, back to the rest of the questions. All right, the last one is, what is your favorite era of American Girl? And I did not have an answer for this, but I actually really gave it some thought. It was one of the questions that I thought about more. And I'm going to go with, and I don't know if this is how they wanted me to approach it, if they wanted me to say like the Pleasant Company era, or the, you know, the original 6 era, or the Truly Me, My American Girl, or Girl of Today, or whatever. I'm going to tell you 2008 to 2010. Look at me being decisive. I can't pick favorites, but 2008 to 2010. So let me make my case for that era. All right. I got notes. So the Sonali mold had been introduced by that time. So I would get, like, have my choice of a couple, Sonali and 47 and 46. So 3 were available during that period, but you'd have nice older Sonali molds. There were several Addie molds available in the Truly Me line, and some beautiful early Jess molds too. I mean, if you make it this range, 2008 to 2010, you get number 1 and number 11 before they retire. And then 26, 31, 45, and 50 as they add, you know, to have some Addie mold love to your collection. Number 4 is in there the whole time, so that's nice. Ivy, number 30, and number 40 would all give you some amazing Jess molds with and without bangs. Mia, 36, 37, and 38, if you wanted to add some adorable ginger classic molds. 48, if you don't want to pay an arm and a leg and have to pine over her later because you can't afford her. I mean, this era doesn't contain the Claudie mold or the Joss mold or the Nanea mold, and Truly Me 62 is not in there, and the CYO generator is not in there, so it's not perfect, but it's a pretty good era. Like, you still had the magazine. By the way, I have another magazine look through already filmed and ready to go, and I just keep pushing it back for other things, but I really do like doing the magazine look throughs, and I want to post that sometime soon, so hopefully I will prioritize it. Because I got a bunch of them. Like, I'm going to be doing those for a while. Plenty of historical dolls, plenty of historical items still. Like, the catalogs were still thicker, and they still had, I mean, they were expanding the Truly Me line quite a bit by then, but they weren't, like, relegating the historicals to, like, a 2-page spread as they do now. The launch of the Interstar U online game and world that I totally missed out on. Yeah, you know what? Let's extend it to 2011 and get Kanani in there so that we can get a different skin tone for the Jess molds. But yeah, that's the era that I'm going to go with. And the outfits are good. I kind of looked through all of them on the wiki, because they have just a list of all of the Truly Me outfits, and I was like, I don't know if that would be my favorite 3 years of American Girl outfits, but they're solid. Like, if I'm gonna go with that era. Sorry. All right, I don't know how long this is because I've been filming it in little clips here and there, but I enjoy these. I hope that you do. If you're watching this for the first time, I think the Q&A video is probably a little bit of a weird place to start, but for those of you who watch, like, hopefully you enjoy them, and it just gets to show you lots of random things from my standpoint in life. I'll do another one probably within, 6 months to a year, but thanks for all the questions. I enjoyed it, and I hope that you're doing well, that you are taking care of yourselves, and I don't just say that, I mean it. Like, I really, really, really hope you're taking care of yourselves, and that your dolls can be part of that for you. So, all right, keep watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share if you want to. Definitely comment down below and say hey, and I'll be back soon.